Hi everyone, this is audap. Let's continue our game of Iwaihime on PC.
前にニュースで老人ホームでプロレスを披露したら好評なんて見たことがあったような。
面白そうです。
どうしても出し物が決まらなかったら大町でタマユンにプロレス大会を提案してみるかな。
僕とナツくんで戦うんですか？
そんだけじゃ地味かね。有刺鉄線金網電流爆破マッチくらいやんなきゃダメかな。
僕とナツくんがリングの中央でカードゲーム対決をしてもいいんなら。
嘘冗談。仮にプロレスやるならバトルロイヤルじゃないとね。オイラもキコチンもリディアも参戦でリングの上で大乱闘だ。
すっごく楽しそうです。でも本気ですか？
かなり。言っててすっごく楽しい気がしてきちゃった。
それは一案にして他も考えた方がいいと思います。
そっかな。タマユンこういうのノリノリだと思ったんだけどな。そっか、場外乱闘でパイプ椅子とか投げつけてお年寄りにぶつかったらやばいよね。
I couldn't tell just how serious she was. Minobe really was just killing time here because she didn't want to go home. That's why she was having so much fun, even with silly things like this.
そういえばさ、ツズムって親元離れてんだっけ？
はい、今はキコちゃんの家にお世話になってます。
うん、キコチンに聞いたよ。お家の方針なんだって？
一人暮らしをさせて自立心を養わせるとか言ってますね。小さい頃からずっと言われてたんで、早く一人暮らしがしたいなってワクワクしてました。だ
よね、やっぱ一人暮らしって楽しいよね。オイラも早く一人暮らししたいな。卒業したらすぐにするんだ。今からすっごい楽しみ。
先輩は一人暮らしに憧れてるんですね。
結局さ、親元にいるうちって殻に守られてる卵みたいなもんだよね。それに殻は窮屈。したいこともできないし、好きに羽ばたくこともできない。だから人ってさ、親元にいるうちはまだ生まれてさえいないと思うわけ。でも私はもうすぐ生まれるんだ。今殻を内側からコツコツと割っているところ。すぐに羽ばたけるように卵の中の内からいっぱい蓄えたもんね。
Her eyes gleamed with hope for the future, but because I knew about her home situation, I was well aware just how strong she must have been to say these things.
私はもうすぐ生まれて清らかな翼を思い切り広げるの。そうして自分だけの力で羽ばたく世界はどんなにも綺麗で広いのかなって。ちょっとポエム入っちゃった。キモくてごめん。
いえ、全然。むしろすごく尊敬しました。僕はそんな先輩をずっと応援してますから。だから何かあったらいつでも頼ってくださいね。
ありがとう。スズムンは本当にいい子だな。家電店とかで売ってたら間違いなく一家に一台欲しいね。
先輩は明日も部室に来てますか？
オイラは模範的部長さんだからね。毎日来てるよ。
じゃあ僕も毎日来てお手伝いをします。
それは嬉しいけど、スズムンってほら毎日修行とかしてるんじゃなかったっけ？
暗くなってからでも修行はできるので全然問題ないです。
スズムンが袴姿で修行してるとこ、私もいつか見てみたいな。
面白いものじゃないですけど、よければいつでも。
じゃあぜひ今度、絶対ね、約束。やっぱりムーンスートの王子様は素敵だね。
I stretched my legs out onto the bouncy mushroom and looked up at the clouds in the blue sky. Oh, the Prince of Monsut means Suzuman. It's embarrassing, so don't you dare make me say it twice. Moon came from the mun in Suzuman, while Sut was the English word for Susu. Hence the Prince of Moonsut.
もうすぐこの王国からも旅立てる。そしたらムーンスートの国に行きたいな。
I wondered if Kiki would let me rent a spare room in one of her family's apartment complexes for cheap. If I got a part-time job, I could probably live there on my own. If possible, I wanted to live near my prince.
オイラはカモトとブル気ないからわかるんだ。きっと恋してるよね。
Honestly, I'd never been attracted to a flesh and blood man until I turned this age. I found those pretty boys in manga hot when I was in middle school, but I'd never seriously been in love. Even so, I knew what this feeling was.
一緒にいてとっても安らぐ。今日の部室みたいなあんな時間こそがオイラの居場所ってそんな気がする。
I needed money if I was going to make that dream come true. A few tens of thousands of yen were merely a child's allowance. I needed a way to make about 100,000. Just then, I heard lumbering footsteps accompanied by an annoying laugh approaching from the mushroom thicket.
エリス姫みっけ。
いや、セチの王様じゃん。女王蜂は一緒じゃないの？
家族会が盛り上がってるみたいなんで、僕ちんが代わりに来たのですよ。誰か家族がいないと一人ぼっちじゃ寂しいですよね。
I wasn't looking for a family. Not with him, at least.
お天気ですね。お紅茶でも飲むですか？入れて死んでるですよ。
ああ、そりゃどうも。
There wasn't any real rhyme or reason to it, but I'd always found the Siege Kings flat out disgusting. I felt that deep in my gut, so there wasn't a feature on him I could view positively. For example, while Mom thought he had a funny face, I thought it was gross. Mom thought he had a sturdy body, but I thought he looked like a whale. Even so, that didn't overshadow his generosity. Those 10,000 yen bills were incredible.
家族会って、いつもよくそんなにおしゃべりするネタがあるもんですね。
みんなかなえちゃんのお母さんと同じで悲しい傷を乗り越えて家族になったのですよ。お母さんの心の痛みは同じ痛みを知る者にしかわからないでちゅ。そうして人は新しい家族になっていくのでちゅよ。
These family associations were gatherings of people much like us. Divorced or bereaved people plagued by great emotional turmoil, to whom Mr. Tanaka had also appeared in their darkest hours. He would then preach to them about familial love, tell them to join his new family, and invite them all to live with him at his house. I actually went there once. However, Something just wasn't right about it. Everyone smiled from ear to ear, but when Mr. Tanaka turned his back to them, they'd all get this strange, lifeless look in their eyes. Though they were all beaming when Mr. Tanaka was around, something felt wrong with them when he wasn't. No, even their smiles seemed somewhat gloomy. They were all pale-skinned, as though it'd been ages since they'd last seen the light of day. And besides, why did the house always smell so rotten? How did Mom never notice that chill that roused all the senses? Ever since I noticed it, Mr. Tanaka's smile started feeling a bit creepy. Whoops. I couldn't be saying that bit out loud. I had to be friendly with my chief source of income. For the allowance from Mr. Tanaka's wallet would become my travel funds for the day I embarked on my new adventure.
今夜のディナーは僕ちんにお任せでちゅよ。もうオーダー済みなのでちゅよ。
It sounded like he'd ordered pizza. Personally, I wasn't much of a fan. Not like any dinner I had all alone with this guy would taste good anyway, though. Those thoughts were racing through my mind, but I would never let it show. I was a master at hiding my emotions, if I said so myself. Just then, the Siege King brought over my mug as he spoke in an uncharacteristically down-to-earth tone.
女王は僕ちんとエリス姫の3人で仲良し家族って言ってるでちゅが、エリス姫にはきっとそれはちょっと押し付けになっちゃってるんじゃないかなって。僕ちんと女王は家族みたいな気持ちで和んでるでちゅが、それをエリス姫にまで押し付けるのは僕ちんはどうかと思ってるでちゅ。
I was a bit surprised. This was the first time I had ever seen the Siege King look so serious.
エリス姫はエリス姫でちゅよ。僕ちんはお前さんの家族にはなれないし、なろうとする気もないでちゅ。だからそこだけは安心してほしいでちゅよ。どうぞでちゅ。暑いでちゅよ。
ありがとう。
女王は僕ちんのことをパパと呼ばせたいみたいでちゅが、それはエリス姫が決めることで、女王が決めることではないでちゅ。それに僕ちんはエリス姫のことを娘だなんて思ったことはないでちゅよ。
じゃあ、なんだと？
節のライバルでちゅよ。
For the first time, his forced expression didn't disgust me. His existence was solitary, I suppose I should put it. My mom and dad were their own people. They were free to love who they wanted and walk whatever path in life they wished. I didn't have the right to say otherwise. But what I couldn't stand was someone imposing on my space. He understood that. He didn't intend to make me call him Dad. Just knowing that took a huge weight off my shoulders. I drank the honey tea he'd brewed up. It tasted gross because he used too much honey, and yet it also warmed my heart a little. He grinned with pride when he saw that. I still couldn't bring myself to like his smile, though. Afterwards, we chatted over the pizza. It felt like this was the first time we'd talked like this.
来年からすぐに一人暮らしを始めたいのでちゅか？
女王もその方が喜ぶと思って。オイラを18まで育ててくれただけで、親の義務はもう十分果たしてるっしょ。あとは女王の人生だと思うんだ。あんたと仲睦まじく過ごしてくれればいいし、それでオイラも彼女もウィンウィンだと思うんだ。
でも一人暮らしは大変でちゅよ。お金もかかるでちゅ。
だからおいらあんたからもらったお小遣い全部貯めてるよ。支度にお金もかかるだろうし、女王の世話にはなりたくないし。
エリス姫は本当に感心な子でちゅね。今時それだけ独立心が旺盛な子はなかなかいないでちゅよ。僕ちんエリス姫を応援するでちゅよ。
ありがとう。
どうしましたでちゅか？
なんでもない。
My head had been feeling kind of hazy for a while. Was I getting sick? I had to snap out of it. I was planning to challenge him to siege again. I couldn't miss this chance to make more money. Afterwards, he wound up challenging me to a game of siege instead. I gladly accepted. When I did, he suddenly crossed his arms and went deep into thought.
どうしたの？
ちょっと考えてるでっちゅ。
He kept looking back and forth from my face to the ceiling, as though contemplating something. What was it? My head really was heavy. I didn't feel sick, though. Quite the opposite. I felt really good, like I was floating. It felt different from the time I got drunk on sweet sake, though. Just what was this strange feeling?
エリス姫こそどうしたでちゅか？さっきから目がトローンとしてるでちゅよ。
なんかとろーん。
Though my body was awake, my mind was practically asleep. It just didn't feel like anything really mattered. The Siege King was grinning, but something about that smile was twisted.
僕ちんエリス姫の一人暮らし応援したいでちゅよ。なので今日の勝負は応援の意味も込めてビッグプライスでっちゅ。
The Siege King clapped his hands, and several treasure boxes appeared and stacked up on top of each other. It was a lavish mountain of treasure greater than any I'd ever seen. My sluggish mind partially cleared up.
すっごい大金持ってんね。さすが不労所得のお貴族様。
今日はエリス姫の旅立ちを応援する意味を込めてなんと100万円もかけちゃいますでっちゅ。
うわあ、いいの？そんな大金。
お金は若者が使ってこそ意味があるでっちゅよ。僕ちんからの気持ちと思ってくれればいいでっちゅ。
嬉しいよ。ありがとう。
じゃあ OK でちゅか？始めますでちゅよ。
The siege arena was the liveliest it had ever been. Not only was there more money on the line than ever before, but the stands were packed like sardines with card soldiers.
すごいよエリス。こんな大勝負初めてだよ。そうだね。大丈夫？寝不足？そんなことないよ。元気だよ。
Oh boy, I felt like a butterfly on the tranquil fields of spring. I felt so good, like I was floating. My whole body was burning up like I'd caught a cold. What was up with me, I wondered. Oh well, like it mattered.
それではその駒いただきでちゅよ。
また取られちゃった。エリス、しっかり。大丈夫大丈夫。少しくらい取られてもハンデよハンデ。上昇腐敗のこのエリス姫様があんなブサイクに負けるわけないって。
He'd taken a lot of my major pieces without breaking a sweat, but I didn't care at all. After all, I'm undefeatable.
さあ、どんどん駒を取っちゃうでちゅよ。
どうするのエリス。攻める駒も守る駒もなくなっちゃうよ。いいのいいの。なくなってもどんどん増やせるのがテチュのいいところでしょ。それはそうだけど、じゃあ体の何をかけるの？ああ、もう好きな部分勝手に持ってっといて。どうせ勝てばチャラなんだからさ。じゃあ適当に駒を追加しとくよ。
どんどん追加するでちゅよ。お代は後の支払いで OK でちゅ。
さあさあ、ふいふい。どんどんいくよ。うわ
The world was spinning like a merry-go-round. Yay. Mr. Rabbit was also a spinning teacup, as each king looked both slim and fat. How funny.
実は僕ちん、大学の時はチェスサークルにいたんでちゅよ。
そうなんだ。知らなかった。
選手権に出たやつに勝ったこともあるんでちゅよ。
そりゃすごいね。なのに、どうしてそんなに下手くそなの？
それはでちゅね。エリス姫を僕ちんの家族に加えるための計略なのですよ。さあ、どんどん追い詰めていきますでちゅよ。
どんどん駒が取られていくよ。いいってどんどん増やせばいいよ。どんどん。
その度にどんどんエリス姫の体がかけられていっちゃいまちゅね。
いいっておいら負けないから。ダメだよ、取られちゃうよ。
チェックメイト。
ありゃ、
僕ちんの勝ちでちゅね。
あれ、もう駒ないの？もっと増やしてよ。ないよ、何にもないよ。みんな取られちゃったよ。
そしてエリス姫の体もみんなかけてしまって、もうかけられる体がないのでちゅよ。
あれれ。たまにはいっか。
たまにはいいでちゅね。
I lost. But I'm always winning anyway, so I guess a loss every now and then is okay.
驚いた？おじさん強いでしょ。
強いね。驚いちゃった。
じゃ、今回はおじさんの勝ちだね。
仕方ないよね。
We laughed together. Suddenly, Mr. Tanaka stopped and smiled faintly.
じゃあかなえちゃん生産しよっか。かなえちゃんが勝ったら100万円あげるって賭けをしてたんだからさ。
ってことはおじさまが勝ったから私が100万払うってこと？おいらそんな大金は持ってない。
ああかなえちゃん誤解しないで。別に僕は払えなかったら体で払えなんていう気は毛頭ないから。かなえちゃんが100万円も持ってるわけがないよ。だから有り金全部でいいから。
有り金全部って今までに貯めたお小遣い全部ってこと？
本当は100万円をもらうところなんだ。大サービスだろ。
Good point. I forked over the cash envelopes I'd kept in my adventurer's bag, my mind still in a daze. Oh boy, I'm broke. I'll have to start saving from scratch all over again.
かなえちゃんはこのお金この家を飛び出すために貯めてたんでしょ。
So he saw right through me, huh?
ごめんね。ずーっとお母さんにかかりきりだったからかなえちゃんのケアまで手が回ってなかったよ。かなえちゃんが今までどういう気持ちでいたか察してはいたんだよ。
いや別にまあ私はどうでもいいんです。お母さんがおじさまと一緒にいて元気になったのは本当だし私のことは本当気にしないでほしいんです。
そんなことないよ。かなえちゃんが僕に家族を奪われたような気持ちになってるのをちゃんと分かってるから。
Was Mr. Tanaka always this cool? His words stuck in my dazed mind like a memorable quote from a movie star.
僕がね、かなえちゃんからお小遣いを全部取り上げたのは家族を失ってほしくなかったからなんだ。家族の愛を失うこと、それはこの世の全ての愛を見失うことだよ。僕に対する危機感から君が自ら家族を手放そうとしていることを僕は気の毒に申し訳なく思っていたんだ。だから今度は君の番だよ。
何の番？
お母さんはもう僕たちの家族になるんだ。だから
I sincerely wish for you to join our family as well. I still didn't understand why I'd been feeling so floaty, but it felt good, so I didn't care. After being told to change into my school uniform, I got into the passenger seat of Mr. Tanaka's car. He said I should be properly dressed for when I officially meet the whole family. Now that I'd lost all my adventure funds, I no longer had anywhere to go, which meant that the family were the only ones who'd give me meals for free. And so I was being taken to where the family was. But I didn't feel particularly broken up about it. Honestly, nothing felt real due to the dazed, floaty feeling I'd had for a while. I wondered what it could be, but came up empty-handed.
普通の家族ってのは結婚とか出産とか新しく加わるときにそれぞれのイニシエーションがあるもんだよね。僕たちの家族も そういうのを大事にしたいんだ。血のつながりがない家族だからこそさ、しっかりとした絆を刻みたいんだよね。
What was he talking about? Oh well, who cares? Mr. Tanaka sure was a good person. I couldn't believe he wanted someone like me in his family. Plus, in the end, saving up allowance to leave home wasn't a realistic plan to begin with. Children live with their families and get fed for free. That's just how it works. I was just being childish by saying it'd be revolting to live with Mr. Tanaka. This feeling. There were mushrooms springing up everywhere again. They grew all over Mr. Tanaka's car. Spores of every color scattered when you poked them, creating little rainbows in the air. When they cleared, I found that the Siege King and I were riding a giant caterpillar.
さあ、着きましたでちゅよ。
お母さんがいるのここ？
Wow, look at this place. What a magnificent mushroom room. A giant mushroom just begged me to jump on it.
ふわふわ
I dove onto it like a trampoline. What was this? It was so soft and bouncy. The Siege King started readying some strange implements in the meantime. I'd never seen anything like them before. Were those needles? Painting tools? Oh well, like it mattered. All of a sudden, the sun went dark and was replaced by the moon in the blink of an eye. The world had turned to night. A wondrous aura hung in the sky. It was so pretty, I'd never seen anything like it before.
準備できましたでちゅよ。そろそろ始めますでちゅよ。
始めるって何が？おいらこのキノコの上でずっとふわふわしてたい。
いいでちゅよ。ずーっとふわふわしてていいでちゅよ。
The Siege King approached the mushroom I was lying on and looked down at me with a smirk. Just then, he raised his thumbs and thrust them into his lower half. A filthy secretion of blood and grease splattered all over the white mushroom. He wasn't trying to push his stomach in. He'd stuck his fingers in deep enough to pierce the blubber and meat that lay under his skin. And then he tore the skin off his lower half. Before me was none other than the figure of a giant, eerie, lurid caterpillar. My mind had been engulfed in dense fog. However, at the moment, I finally awakened from that floaty feeling. But I couldn't think straight. My thoughts were frozen. Where am I? When I came to, I was in a revolting place I'd never seen before. Huh? What is this place? Why am I here? What's Mr. Tanaka do? Huh? No, not him. The caterpillar monster. But that's Mr. Tanaka. Huh? Mr. Tanaka was lowering over me with his upper half bared, and on his skin was a large, repulsive, garishly colored caterpillar tattoo.
これがね、僕たちの家族の絆なの。かなえちゃんのお父さんだってさ、お母さんと結婚するときには永遠を誓い合ったはずなんだよ。でもさ、 浮気しちゃったでしょ。人はさ、目に見えない絆なんてものじゃ縛れないんだよ。だからさ、僕たちははっきりと目に見えて絶対に消すことのできない形でさ、絆を記してんだよね。
Did he mean that garish spotted caterpillar? He was trying to tattoo that monster on me? Wait, what? My mind was getting hazy again.
ぼんやりしてるくらいの方が痛くなくていいんだよ。リラックスして横になってれば僕がかっこよく仕上げておくから。
I had to get out of here right now, but my mind was still dazed, and thus my body refused to respond properly. And they're growing. Mushrooms are growing everywhere.
さあさあ、エリス姫、僕ちんの芋虫ランドの家族になるんでちゅよ。お前の母ももう一息なんだよ。炭だけはのらりくらりと逃げやがるんだ。娘のお前が先に炭を入れたとわかりゃ覚悟を決めてくれるさ。親子揃って新しい家族に加わろうぜ。家とか全部売っ払ってよ。お母さんと一緒に幸せになりてえだろ。毎日飯が食えて寝るところがあって風呂に入れる生活がいいだろ。みんなで共同生活楽しいぜ。僕の言うことさえきっちり聞いてりゃよ。お仕置き部屋なんてよ、反抗さえしなきゃ入れられることなんかねえんだからよ。
My mind suddenly burst like a pop balloon. When I came to, I was telling myself I was a stringless puppet. I was a puppet. A puppet. The caterpillar monster was just playing with a puppet that looked like me, and that was all. He was simply drawing on the surface of the doll with a needle and machine. He was playing all on his own, so it had nothing to do with me. So please, end it quickly. Please put an end to this torment. I felt warm drops trailing down my cheeks from my eyes. Confused, afraid, and devoid of presence of mind, I lost the very will to fight back. A single face flashed through the puppet's mind. Prince of Moonsit. No. Suzuman. Save me. Stab. Stab, stab. It was still going on. Stab, stab, stab. It seemed like he'd never tire of creeping about my skin. When I came to, the Siege King had regained his human legs.
おめでとう、エリス姫。これでもう立派な芋虫さんでちゅよ。今までの芋虫で一番の最高傑作になったでちゅ。
My whole body burned as though it were swelling. I didn't even need to look at a mirror to tell I'd already been turned into a monster. It was raining quietly outside. I didn't remember how or when I'd left that place. I barely managed to put on my uniform and dazedly made my way down an alley I didn't recognize. An outsider would only see an exhausted girl staggering around, but it was so much worse than that. A rabbit in my head whispered to me,
エリス、少し早いけど旅立ちの日が来たんだよ。そうだね。ミノベ犬王国にはもう帰れないね。
Good thing I'd hidden my adventurer's bag outside the house. I'd given Mr. Tanaka the envelopes my money had come in, but it turned out to be a blessing in disguise that I kept the cash in my wallet elsewhere.
行こうよ、エリス。冒険の旅に。うん。どこへ行く？
That was obvious. To the Moonsoot Kingdom, starting tomorrow morning. I plodded down the streets. My uniform was all I had to wear for the time being, so I didn't want it to get any wetter. Manga cafes have shower rooms and dryers, so I could just clean it up there. I looked up to see the townscape had changed slightly. It was a mix of wet modern buildings and fairy tale-esque mushroom houses. A giant caterpillar clung to a telephone pole, enjoying a long drag on a smoking pipe. The crossings were a jumble of office workers with umbrellas and card soldiers shielding themselves with taro leaves. Man, I really am screwed up in the head, huh? But that was what made me Elise of Wonderland.
なんでもない日って素晴らしいな。なんでもない日万歳。先輩、遅くなってすみませんすみません。ああ、いいよいいよ、全然待ってないし。相談って何ですか？見延先輩が会って話したい相談なんてなんだろうなーってそわそわしてました。
I wasn't the type who wore her worries on her sleeve, so her surprise was only to be expected. Thanks to my perfect acting, no one even suspected I was having troubles at home. But after all that happened, I had no choice but to rely on Kiki. Honestly, I hadn't been sure how much to tell her. I didn't want to make things awkward with such a serious topic. So all I said was I'd gotten into a big fight with my mom and couldn't go home for a while.
へえ、見延先輩ってお母さんと喧嘩とかするんですか？結構アンビリーバボバボ。するよ。おいらの家、ちょっといろいろ複雑なの。まあ、ここだけの話だけど、その。
Kiki was shocked, but soon realized this wasn't something she should stick her nose too deep into.
ほんのしばらくだけ止めてくれないかな。キコチーのアパートに空き部屋とかあったらすっごい助かるんだけど。空き部屋は今はないと思います。このままじゃおいら満喫暮らしか公園で野宿になっちゃうよ。
I managed to get Kiki to agree to let me stay over for at least one night. We'd talk about what came after that later. I wasn't naive enough to assume she'd let me stay forever. But if she helped me out even a little, I could save more money. It cost about 2,000 yen to stay a night at a manga cafe, with food expenses included. That meant I needed a few thousand a day. Of course, there were other living expenses to consider, like clothes and laundry. The more I thought, the more I realized I didn't have enough money. I had enough to support myself for just a little while, so if I managed to get a part-time job in between. After club activities ended and we were leaving school, I casually turned the conversation to Suzumon. He was okay with Kiki knowing, but I didn't want Suzumon finding out about my troubles at home. So I shifted focus to him as naturally as I could.
そういえばスズムンって空手をやってんだって？
空手？
やってますやってます。毎日夕方には道着を着て裏庭で稽古してますよ。
へえ、何それかっこいい。
空手じゃないんだけどな。
女の子から見れば似たようなもんだってば。
ねえねえ、あのさ。
I walked ahead of Suzumon, then turned around and spoke.
おいらもスズムンのかっこいいとこ見てみたいな。
We watched Suzumon train in Kiki's backyard. It was so cool. I realized once more how I felt about him. However, I sadly realized that dream was no longer possible. Afterwards, I had dinner with Suzumon and Kiki's family. We had somen. It was so delicious. The whole family was at peace. We all had fun watching a baseball game on TV. Suzumon and Kiki looked like they were having fun too. But above all else, I was fraught with envy. I wanted to be part of this family. Mom and Dad hated each other. They always fought when they saw one another. Eventually, they stopped meeting face to face, and each stopped coming home when the other was there. Everyone in my family just lived their own lives separate from each other. Despite that, it was the only place I'd felt like I belonged. But once Dad left and Mom started bringing Mr. Tanaka over, it slowly but surely lost that feeling. This place was wonderful. I could only imagine how fun it would be to live with Suzumon here. I'm sure all girls my age had dreams like that. But I was filthy now. Could Suzumon ever accept someone like that? No, that wasn't the issue. It wasn't a matter of wanting acceptance. The problem was that because I loved Suzumon from the bottom of my heart, I wanted to offer my purest self up to him, but it was too late. I was a caterpillar now, not a human. I simply wasn't suitable for one as pure and radiant as him. Wanting him to accept someone like me would be asking way too much. But I wanted to go to the Prince of Moonset, because I no longer had anywhere else to go. If I were to meet him again, would he be able to save me? Could I abandon this monstrous body and start anew? Like a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, could I be reborn as my pure self and love him? Indeed, I was a caterpillar. I was the same as that hideous, loathsome creature.
先輩？
I was a master at masking my tears.
Ko- 個性的な部屋だね。
Alright, why don't we stop it there? This is Autopostrophe. You've been watching Iwaihime on PC. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.